One of the big misconceptions that I think people have about Judaism is that they see it as a religion. Why do I say that? Because a religion implies that you keep a set of laws and rules, and if you do them, then God will put you in heaven, and he'll feed you brownies for all eternity. But that's not how I believe Judaism works. A far more appropriate paradigm for understanding the basis of Judaism is another word beginning with the letter R. It's a relationship. Ultimately, what the Torah aims to do is to develop relationships between human beings and the Almighty. And the second you see the Torah in that light, I genuinely believe that it changes your perspective on everything. Let me show you how. What I'm about to share with you is based on a class given by a rabbi called Rabbi Moti Berger. It's called the 3 Rules of Relationships, and it's based on the principle that because God wants to have a relationship with us, one of the reasons he placed us on earth among other people was to teach us about relationships. God could have easily chosen to place every human being, all of us, on separate universes to achieve our life missions, but he chose to place us among each other. God wants us to live our lives among other people. Why? One reason is because by building relationships with other people, we can learn basic lessons about what it means to have a relationship with God. And there are 3 fundamental lessons we can learn from all human relationships that teach us about having a relationship with God. So here they are. Rule number 1. The quality of a relationship is determined by our ability to choose it. And part of choosing means our ability to say no. Why is it that parents give endlessly to their children, and yet the children are almost craving to leave their parents' home by the time they reach adulthood? Because the parents chose the relationship with their child, and thus their bond to their child is far more powerful than the child's bond to them. Every time they gave to the child, they chose the relationship, from changing their nappies to driving them to school every day. Meanwhile, the child is mainly a passive recipient. In general, parents love their children more than children love their parents. No offence, Mum and Dad, I honestly do love you both, but it's just, you love me more. The same is true of the teacher-student relationships. If the student is forced to sit in class while the teacher chose the profession out of a desire to help others, the teacher is going to feel a far deeper connection to the student than the other way around. The extent to which one is able to choose to have a relationship will determine its strength, and part of choosing the relationship means our ability to reject it. That's what we call free will. If we cannot say no to the relationship, then it is forced upon us, and is far less profound. So when it comes to our relationship with God, it's only through our choices that we can build the relationship. Ricky Gervais, a comedian who I find really funny, said something that really stuck with me. He's an atheist, and talking to a crowd of students, he said, "If there's a God, why did he make me an atheist?" But the point is, Ricky, God did not make you an atheist. You chose to be an atheist, and God gave you the ability, the freedom to make that decision. If God doesn't give us the ability to choose a relationship with him, if he forced it on us, then the relationship has little value. We have to choose it for it to have value. Rule number 2, the quality of a relationship is determined by the one who wants it least. A guy can be completely in love with a girl, but if she's not so keen, she has the power to determine the relationship's strength. She is the one in control. I once had a friend who was desperate to continue a relationship with a girl, but the girl wasn't so interested. "Oh sure, Ollie, a friend." Anyway, the point is, who had the power in the relationship? She did. It was up to her whether the relationship would continue or not. The one who wants the relationship least has all the power. So what about when it comes to us and God? Who has the power? Who wants the relationship more, us or God? Well, God created us out of an indescribable desire to give, an incomprehensible altruism. God's love for each of us is infinite, and ours is finite. God is totally committed to his relationship with humanity, but our constant battles between connecting and disconnecting from God make us the ones in control of the relationship's quality. We have the power. We determine the strength of the relationship because we want it less so. Near the beginning of the Torah, when God creates man, God says, quote, "Let us make man in our image." The commentaries ask, why does God say, "Let us make man"? Who was God talking to? One of the answers is that he was talking to man. Because while God can provide man with the opportunity to connect to him, man has the power to determine whether or not he will choose a life connected to God or disconnected. When it comes to our relationship with God, we have all the power. Rule number 3. The quality of a relationship is determined by the extent to which both sides are similar to each other in terms of their will, goals, and values. For example, the more two friends care about each other's feelings, values, and aspirations, the closer they'll become. We're told that one of the most important aspects in looking for a partner is finding one with whom you share similar beliefs and goals. Without this, the relationship is doomed. It will lead to clashes and conflict. Opposites attract isn't really true. Hitler and Rosa Parks would not have had a particularly pleasant dinner together. Different strengths, interests, and skills might complement each other, but when it comes to fundamental values, both parties need to be on the same page to have a thriving relationship. Love means what matters to you matters to me. So, how do we share the same will, goals, and values of God? By caring about His will for the world. And what is His will? The Torah. By committing ourselves to God's will for the world, we become partners with Him in perfecting the world and building our relationship with Him. As it says in the Ethics of the Fathers, quote, "Make His will your will." It is asked why it was okay for Abraham to stop talking to God and help the strangers coming towards him in the book of Genesis. Imagine you're talking to God and you say, "Sorry God, I've got to take care of some strangers coming towards me." In fact, the biblical commentators commend him for doing so. Why? The answer is that better than talking to God is being like God. Ultimately, God wants to see us emulate His goodness in this world. And by doing so, by sharing God's will with our will, we strengthen our relationship with Him. We learn from human relationships that the more similar our will, values, and goals are to God's, the stronger the relationship will become. To be created in God's image means to have the ability to make God's will our own. God made human relationships share the same fundamental dynamics as our relationship with God. The key lesson we learn in relationships is that the only one responsible for strengthening the relationship is ourselves. People often get the wrong message when they hear the words reward and punishment with regard to having a relationship with God. In truth, it really should be framed as consequences. If a husband chooses not to give a present to his wife on their anniversary, will he be punished? Well, perhaps. But the point is, the real punishment is that he's simply damaging the relationship. That is the outcome, and thus he is hurting himself. If he does choose to give her a gift, the relationship will benefit. Similarly, Torah commandments are simply ways of connecting to God, and the extent to which we choose them determines the strength of the relationship with Him. Ultimately, it's not about reward and punishment, heaven and hell. It's all about connection. How connected are we going to be to the ultimate goodness? And that's only a choice that we can make. I'm Ollie Anisfeld, and you're watching JTV. To stay up to date with the latest JTV content, if you're on YouTube, click subscribe below the video and the alarm bell. And if you're on Facebook, click the like button, and under following, click see first.